Oh, he travels with the Warriors. He covers the Warriors. His life away from home is Chase Center and flying airports. Sam Gordon, beat reporter covering the Golden State Warriors for the San Francisco Chronicle, joins us next. Sam, it's been way too long. I know you're insanely busy. I'll take you when I can get you. How have you been, brother? Good to see you.
What's happening, Cyrus? Appreciate you for having me on the show again. I'm glad we were able to reconnect and make this happen.
Yes.
But all good, all good. I mean, NBA basketball is back. Been back in the swing of things for several weeks now, covering the Warriors, and love the rhythm of the NBA season and getting that going. So 7 games down, 75 regular season games to go for Golden State. It's been a kind of frenetic start to the season. Expect that to obviously continue with 8 of their next 10 on the road, 8 of 9 really after tomorrow's Tuesday's matchup with the Phoenix Suns. So the Warriors, are getting pushed by this early season schedule. I'm happy to be back and very much enjoying being back in the rhythm of flow of covering the NBA and covering the Warriors.
Well, you're. It sounds like you're feeling good being in the rhythm and flow. I don't know if the team is, and that's what we're going to talk about because there is a pattern I'm noticing, and Steve Kerr today echoed how it felt, which is when you play these older traditional teams who have certain stars that they run their offense through. That's the pace of the Warriors are very comfortable at. When you're playing these young teams that are young, I started to be redundant there, athletic, fast, like speed to me is the word that really to me represents the theme of this early season. When they're playing these younger teams who in these 3 losses, the opposition, they're missing stars, right? Like they're out of their element. And that's what I want to talk to you about. And we're going to break it down. It's Sam Gordon. It's the Golden Daze, powered by FanDuel.
Let's go.
Thank you for joining the program. My name is Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me on Threads and Instagram at Dog Wild, over on Twitter at Surf Journalist. The program on both platforms at Golden Daze Pod. Sam Gordon, last time you were on, and look, times change. Last time we spoke, I know you're on Twitter still at by Sam Gordon. You did not have a presence on Threads yet. You were on Blue Sky. What's the latest for your social media in addition to all the work you do for the San Francisco Chronicle?
Still not on Threads and have a Blue Sky, but haven't posted one. So I'm still on, on X, Twitter. I still call it Twitter.
Same.
I'm gonna rock with Twitter until it turns down, whenever that may be. So here we are. It's still treating me okay, and that's where my kind of day-to-day coverage, a lot of it is. So appreciate you following me there.
Of course.
And posting that for everybody to check out.
Of course, dude. I'm never gonna not call it Twitter. And side note, not that anyone cares, it still says Twitter on my phone. I haven't updated the app in like 3 years. And insanely, Elon has not forced people to update it. If you can see this on your phone right now, it still says right there,
Twitter.
And so I'm going to call it Twitter as long as my phone calls it Twitter, even though I know it probably drives Elon crazy. Like, no, it's X. It's X, like the big letter. No, I'm going with Twitter. Sam Gordon, it's such a pleasure to have you join us. And again, you do phenomenal work for the San Francisco Chronicle. Well, the Golden State Warriors are mired, however, in a 2-game losing streak. And just to piggyback off what we were talking about a moment ago, like what I'm noticing, and it seems obvious to me, and I'm thankful that Steve Kerr said this as well. Why don't we start with this press conference? I'm not going to play the whole 3 minutes that I have clipped here. We'll just play the first question. And you were there, so you can obviously follow up on this and add your perspective, any additional content that's missed. But Steve Kerr, like what he said today when asked about this 2-game losing streak, I was actually very relieved to hear it, because it's exactly what I'm seeing and thinking as well in terms of what the plight is for the Warriors, in terms of why they're not 6-1, which is where I think they should be. Those were both very winnable games. And to me, it feels like the Warriors beat themselves as much as the Bucks and the Pacers beat them. And when Steve Kerr was asked what happened in those 2 games, his answer reflected exactly how I feel. I don't know if you felt the same way, Sam, and I'd love to get your reaction after we hear from Warriors head coach Steve Kerr.
What are the biggest lessons that you want the team to obviously learn from those 2 rough losses?
Well, the pace of the game is off the charts these days. It's been getting faster and faster year after year, but I even think it's taken a leap this year just in terms of style of play. And this is how it works in basketball and technology and science, everything else, right? It's like the game is constantly changing. And so to me, what I'm seeing is teams are spreading you out, playing as fast as possible, making it difficult to, kind of get to your coverages defensively. The faster the actions, the more difficult it is for the defense to respond. And I thought the pace of the Milwaukee and Indiana games exposed some of the things that we were doing defensively, and we've got to improve those things to get better.
And again, we'll stop it there. You can. I posted the whole clip on my Threads account just because Threads lets me post these super long clips. The character limits are much longer. Someone in the chat, Jingok, making fun of me saying Threads should sponsor me. Look, in reality, Threads has actually surpassed Twitter in terms of user numbers, but I use both just because I feel like that's where everyone mostly is. I'm like you as well. I have a Blue Sky account. I think I made one post. My handle there is Golden Days, just like the show. I just don't have the time for it, man. So those are the two I'm using right now. So again, if you can go to Threads to watch the whole 3+ minutes, I think it includes a question or two from you as well, Sam. You were at that press conference today. This was following Warriors practice. But what are you seeing as well? Like, do you agree with what Steve Kerr said there? Because I'm seeing it too. And it started with that Portland game. I was very caught off guard seeing how fast the pace that the Trailblazers were going at. And the fact that at the end of the first half in that Pacers game, Jonathan Kuminga was interviewed, and Kuminga's the guy you're probably relying on the most to match that athleticism, to match the speed and size that these other teams are bringing to you. And Kuminga's like his first answer when Fitz was interviewing was, "I'm tired, man. These guys are fast, and it's hard to keep up." Like he was just openly admitting this. So if he's exhausted, I know the pace is insane. And we're going to talk about how the Warriors can adjust to that. But what are you seeing so far in these two games and also just the first 7 as a whole?
Ooh, great question. To answer your question, yeah, I mean, speed, length, athleticism, we saw, I guess, not necessarily so much the speed in terms of pace, but in terms of speedy, twitchy athletes. We saw the Warriors Houston took the Warriors 7 games, right? And the Warriors were able to win on guile and top-end talent and experience, and obviously the great Game 7 performance and whatnot. But that series got extended longer than it probably should have, longer than certainly the Warriors wanted it to, in part because Houston's this young, long, athletic team. So that kind of foreshadowed some of the issues that I think the Portland game opened up. And there are teams to varying degrees, right? There's varying degrees of these teams in the NBA with the kind of Portland-esque length, athleticism, all those things. You know, Houston, Oklahoma City certainly rank on the top end of that spectrum, and Portland is obviously undergoing what looks to be a really successful rebuild up to this point as well.
Agreed.
Leaning into those principles. So stylistically, right? If you think about kind of where the Warriors are at, and no secret, they're a veteran team. They skew a little smaller than some of the bigger teams in the NBA, of course, knowing that they favor small ball situationally, and even Al Horford, right, one of their main bigs. He's not necessarily a 7-footer, got a lot of length, longer. He's a center, but there are certainly bigger centers in the NBA, bigger front lines in the NBA than the one that the Warriors have. So you see what Portland did. I mean, if you were to come up with a style, if you're just kind of thinking, well, what wouldn't an older team like? Speed and length and pace. So it makes sense that the Warriors, and there was even discussion after the Portland game, kind of going back to what, you listen to some of the post-game comments that game. Stylistically, there was even an expectation going in that the full court pressure, the length, pushing the ball after makes, even like forcing the Warriors to defend, immediately, that style could wear on them. So you couple that, the speed, the athleticism, the frenetic pace that some of these teams are playing. And then, Kerr talked today about point of attack defense, right? Like in those 2 games last week, opposing ball handlers are getting in the lane, putting the defense into rotation. Like there's miscommunications on screens. There's, players have talked, Jimmy Butler talked about it after the Indiana game, not good enough communication. Like if you're not, if the pace, you're not quite matching the pace, and you got to communicate to kind of make up for that and get back on track. And the communication hasn't been there. So stylistically, yeah, it makes sense that an older team is going to struggle situationally with length, with athletes, with speed, not only speed getting up the floor, but speedy ball handlers as well. And point of attack defense at times was an issue for the Warriors late last season, dealing with speedy ball handlers and, bigger, more athletic wings. And yeah, we've seen some of those issues arise. So the Warriors, again, as you mentioned, right, as Steve Kerr mentioned, acknowledge that, hey, this is a thing that's been a problem stylistically, and now we see how they counter. So yeah, that obviously jumps out, and here we go. Let's see what they do to counter.
Well, and that's the beautiful part of all this, right? The Warriors are going to adjust, right? The counter to what's been plaguing them these last couple of games. And their next game up, by the way, they have a nice reprieve here. They're back in action tomorrow. I believe the first of a doubleheader. They host the Suns tomorrow. This is part of an insane early season schedule. I've even heard national media mocking Adam Silver as having a bias against the Warriors, given that after this next back-to-back, already the third of the season, they host the Suns tomorrow. Then it's a very brief trip. I mean, Sacramento's not exactly a grueling road trip, but nonetheless, you're going to be playing in a road arena. And then after that is where it's like just nutty, where you're at Denver Friday, you host a Pacers team Sunday that I don't think is lost in San Francisco in, I think, 6 or 7 years. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But Indiana's had the Warriors number home and on the road, as evident by the last game. Then you're on the road again for a grueling road trip. And I'll read this road trip and then I'll stop at the end of it. At OKC, at San Antonio. That's a back-to-back, by the way. Then you play at San Antonio again. So three games in 4 nights with the Thunder and the Spurs all on the road. You get a nice break in New Orleans as long as the team's not having too much fun and dealing with a hangover. You're at New Orleans. Then you're at Orlando, who has been underachieving this year, but I'm not going to pretend that's an easy out. And then at Miami, a team that's been overachieving this year. Heat culture, Spo. That's insane. I think we're going to learn a lot when this grueling stretch is over. But we start with Tuesday, and that's where FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Golden Daze and Believe Network, they have the Warriors favored by. Do you mind guessing the line? I always have fun with this one. Sam, in your opinion, you may or may not already know this line, but what would you guess is the line for the Warriors and the Suns tomorrow at Chase Center?
I haven't looked yet, but I guess like 7.5 or 8.
Well, that's favorable to the Suns. The Warriors are favored by 11. So the bookies think there's going to be a good old-fashioned ass whipping happening at Chase Center. The money line, if you feel like the Suns can pull off an upset, plus 360, the OU 232.5. Again, that's courtesy of FanDuel, the official sponsor of Golden Daze. That's a hell of a sponsor to have, by the way, because that was my ad read, is just literally talking about the next game. I'm stoked on that. But look, getting into what these adjustments are, right? Like what the Warriors can do. And I think they will have some good answers. I think that the good news about this Golden State Warriors club, to me, it's just my opinion, is they have the depth and they have the youth and athleticism to make up for all the things that have been affecting them negatively these past couple games and to start the season. Again, they're just a game above 500. But before we get into that, I want to pull these stats just to give folks some measurables that reinforce some key issues that the Golden State Warriors have. And Sam, I'd love to get your reaction to this. The Warriors, this might be the most surprising stat to me. Their offensive rating just 17th out of 30 teams in the NBA. Normally the Warriors offensively are elite. The fact that they're not leading or top 5 in that category, even top 10, that's a little eyebrow raising to me. But it goes beyond that. Assist to turnover ratio, a stat that Steve Kerr is obsessed with borderline. He sometimes judges minutes based off this stat. As a team, they're 18th. That means they're turning the ball over a lot. They're not distributing the ball that much. I think they're top 10 in assists, but not in the top 5, which alone should be a slight flag as well. They're 25th in turnovers committed, 20th in rebounding, 19th in pace, a word that you're going to hear a lot if this continues, and 20th in blocks, maybe the least surprising stat given the Warriors, I think, are technically the shortest team in the NBA. But the turnovers are a massive problem, and you can start with the veterans there. But the pace of play, maybe it's all a veteran problem. I don't know. Like, what are you seeing, or what's your interpretation of what's going on when you see these stats 7 games into the season?
Yeah, I think just a lot of. I mean, it's early on. They're just trying to figure. They're figuring things out. I think the schedule hasn't done them many favors, but I think it's an older team that's run into some fatigue, that's run into some younger teams that's had some bad games that have influenced these numbers, and we've seen some of the stylistic, pitfalls that the Warriors have experienced so far. So the turnovers are a lot. You get unforced turnovers. There's going to be turnovers within the flow of play. The more a team passes the basketball, just naturally, the more turnovers are going to be, because those are chances for the defense to make plays. But unforced turnovers, finding the right balance offensively, the Warriors are very much in the midst of that. Steve Kerr talked about that today. You want to – it's what's the John Wood? Be quick, but don't hurry. Like Kerr is that a
Steve Kerr slogan?
I think that's a John Wooden line, but Kerr didn't necessarily evoke that at the press conference today, but he said that in the past, right? That, like, the Warriors want to push the ball and get into their half-court actions early, but when they're in their half-court sets, be deliberate from there. Whether that's running their split cuts that obviously allow a lot of freedom, their kind of motion principles, or whether it's isolation with Jimmy Butler and kind of the deliberate movements around that, the way they can space the floor, the way they can time their cuts to either open something up for him or open something up away from the ball. They're very much in the midst of kind of figuring out stylistically how to play in the clutch. The clutch time offense the last couple of games has not been good. You mentioned those games were winnable. The Warriors had an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter against the Pacers. And, their inability to score created opportunities for Indy to push the ball in transition or get the ball up the floor and get into the actions that they want. You get empty possessions, they compound, and lo and behold, the Pacers are right there. And obviously you saw some struggles down the stretch against Milwaukee as well. So figuring out kind of what sets and what actions they want to get into late in games, who they want at the controls. Obviously, Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler are going to have huge roles, but who has the ball? How do they kind of marry? Is Curry more effective off the ball with his, kind of movement, with Jimmy Butler on the ball? We saw the Warriors find some success with that kind of formula down the stretch last season, with Jimmy Butler being kind of the late game decision maker. So all very much things that are in flux right now at this point. And, like you mentioned, Steve Kerr talked about all those things today. But they certainly need to be more organized, more deliberate offensively in terms of their execution, and then defensively. The communication, the controllables, retreating in transition, understanding when to crash, when not to crash. And, these are all things. I'm not saying I have the specific answers, but I imagine these are talking points for the coaching staff, right? When to offensive rebound, when to get back in transition. Game plan discipline within both team schemes, and then, guarding the ball and whatnot. So all things, again, talking points after practice today, things that the Warriors are aware of, things that these last 2 games put out there on tape for the Warriors to address, and obviously things they need to improve at with as you mentioned, a really tough schedule coming up. Oklahoma City, right? We talk about, not necessarily speed in terms of the way they play, but speed with athleticism in terms of their personnel, right? The San Antonio, young, long, athletic team that you have Victor Wembanyama to deal with. So challenges that the Warriors are going to face very imminently after kind of this week, these next few games, where I do think they have some stylistic advantages and things that they can do to be successful this week.
It's going to be a side note. We're not taking calls tonight. Please forgive me. Someone in the chat's asking, how do we get on? When we have a guest like Sam, the focus is on you, sir. And one player, I guess a few players, but one in particular is a little concerning to me, brother. And that's someone who's going to go down as one of the all-time greats, Stephen Curry. We don't worry about Steph typically. And maybe this is just one of those situations we've seen in the past where, the Warriors, and they do this sometimes. Draymond Green just admitted to this either today or yesterday, where they play down to their opponents, meaning like if you play the Bucks and suddenly Giannis is not there, that flicker of just anger, that competitive fire in Stephen Curry's eyes, it dims. You're playing the Pacers. Half the team's injured. You have an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter after Steph hits a three to make it 104-93. Is that competitive fire? I don't really see it just burning quite as bright as I typically do, largely because I don't know if he's as motivated as he normally is playing down to the opponents. I'm hoping that's what's going on, and that's why we're seeing these large turnovers. To put it in perspective, in the fourth quarter of that Pacers game, they had 4 turnovers. 3 of those 4 turnovers committed by Steph, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green. Steph had 5 turnovers in that game. He shot 4 of 16 from deep as well. That part, and this is kind of reflecting, I know the season percentage looks healthy, but it's largely because of 1 or 2 get like outstanding games and surrounded by a lot of like 3 of 9 games, 2 of 9 games, 4 of 16 in Indiana. I'm a little concerned, and this is where your insights are so important because you're around this 24/7 pretty much as you can be. You're looking at Steph constantly. Is he okay in your eyes? Like, is fatigue already kicking in 7 games into the season? Because I really hope that's not the case. I'm freaking out if that's true. What's your take on Steph and the early season struggles? Because this ain't the norm.
I mean, yeah, a couple, I guess what you would say substandard performances consecutively for Stephen Curry after what was a sublime, I think, start to the season, right? I mean, he was averaging 25 a game over his first 5. The percentages were through the roof. The shooting splits were tremendous. I don't think it's anything to necessarily worry about yet. A couple off nights, right? I do think, probably the wear of the schedule at a certain point. He hasn't missed a game yet, played big minutes. Obviously, the overtime game against Denver scores 35 against Portland the very next night. He's been at the epicenter of obviously a lot of what the Warriors are doing. I think it was just a case of the Pacers were rolling and he didn't play well. And he was very, Steph Curry he got out in front of it right at his press conference talking about what he, what might he be able to do to get things organized and not necessarily on the ball, right? Off, what made, and that makes me wonder, down the stretch in the clutch, kind of him talking about that, if we're going to see Jimmy Butler on the ball, maybe being the primary decision maker and Stephen Curry using his gravity off the ball, being a part of the offense, hunting, shots, obviously trying to get open and hunting shots for himself, but using his gravity to keep the offense humming and create opportunities for everybody else, preserving kind of the beautiful game. So I wouldn't necessarily read into it, too much yet, right? I mean, 1 or 2 of those threes goes down, makeable shots for him that he just missed. We might be having another conversation. But I think the striking part and what he acknowledged, again, was the decision-making, a couple turnovers in the third quarter. He left his feet.
Yes.
He dribbled into traffic. And
yes,
when the decision-making wanes, generally speaking, I feel like that's a sign of fatigue. So Warriors got 2 days, long, 2 days. It seems like a rarity, right? 2 days in between games. They had Sunday off altogether. They didn't do any full court stuff at practice today. It was imagine a lot of film work and maybe some walkthrough stuff out on the court. Let's see how Steph Curry looks against the Suns, knowing where the Warriors are at, kind of in their schedule, how imperative it is for them to get back on track. And you mentioned what the betting line is. This is a game that the Warriors should win. The Suns got off the schneid, but they have struggled and have a lot of their own kind of things to get in order. Warriors are the more talented team. You expect them to get back on track and take care of business at home. Not that, not at this point. They were a double-digit favorite against the Pacers, right? Not any gimmies by any means. But if anything, these last 2 losses kind of recentered, refocused the Warriors after that hot start and, a prime opportunity to get back-to-back wins going into that Denver game on Friday.
Yeah, and they're going to be favored in these next 2. They play the Kings right after this, and I don't know what the line is, but I'm going to strongly predict the Warriors will be favored. Sack always plays them tough regardless. Sure. And Phoenix just beat San Antonio, I believe, the other day. So was it San Antonio? Yeah. So they beat somebody important. So again, none of these games are gimmies, and we'll see what happens. What I guess freaked me out the most with Steph was you never see him fall into the trap of trying to force things when a game is going in a frustrating manner, which it was in that Pacer game, because again, they couldn't put him away, but like we've seen him do the showboating, right? Like a behind the back pass when you're, up 10, that's completely unnecessary, but you're having fun out there, right? And Curry usually lets these guys like Steph, Dre, and these guys get away with that because they've won 4 championships playing like this. And, whatever little mistakes they make, having fun out there, they make up for with just the volume scoring and, the elite defense. But Steph, I felt like he was just like putting his head down and forcing bully ball type layups that were not going in. And he normally has such good touch that those typically do go in. And I think every time he did it, it was getting to him. And I just don't see the game ever getting to him. And again, maybe I'm just tripping out over nothing. That's a very strong possibility, but I didn't like seeing it. It's not a normal thing to see out of Stephen Curry, regardless of what time of year it was. So it'll be fascinating. One thing I do believe strongly in, Sam, and I don't know if you agree with this or not. Let me get that banner back up to so people can know where to follow you and what you're part of, just to get a clue as to your prestige, sir, your prominence in this industry. The Warriors, when they played Portland, third game of the season, I believe, and they lost. That was a back-to-back. That was the second of a back-to-back. Mm-hmm. Al Horford didn't play because that's scripted. We're not going to see him for back-to-backs. And when he played in that Clippers game, he sat out the previous game against Memphis. That's what to expect. What we're expecting this year. What surprised me a little bit was, why did my screen just do that? Do you see that? Is it blurry to you?
A little bit, yeah.
That's I don't know what just I don't know why it's doing that. Forgive me. I'll turn my camera off. And I was like, let me finish my question and I'll figure that out. I have no idea. I'm not smoking a bong in here. I promise. That is just weird blur. Now it's
there you go. Yeah.
I wonder if like some fuzz fell on the camera there and the lens. My apologies. My question to you, Sam, is on these back-to-backs, I don't know if they should be playing Steph, Jimmy, and Dre. Like I thought a huge reason why you have this depth is so that you can rest these guys on back-to-backs. And when they played Portland, I was surprised to see all 3 out there and getting heavy minutes. Do you think like was the Portland game maybe an eye-opener for Steve Kerr and the Warriors in the sense that, look, like we don't need to run these guys to the ground. We have this deep team. Why not go play a game giving Podziemski, Kuminga, Moody 35 minutes each? If you're going to lose, fine, but at least you're giving these guys experience in the process. Some would argue they're ready to take on this bigger role. Is Steph and Jimmy and Dre, the 3 veterans I'm focused on here the most, is that something we're going to expect this season? Is it going to be a game-by-game process? What do you know and what do you think with them and back-to-backs?
Well, Kerr said today that he met with Mike Dunleavy, Rick Celebrini, and Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, exactly about that, right? Just kind of managing their workload is like, what that's going to be like during the season. I think at this point, they have a couple back-to-backs. It's been a very frenetic, again, very fast-paced start to the season for an older team, right? There are other teams, NBA teams, that are playing quickly, high-paced schedules, but this is an older team, so it's particularly strenuous.
Yeah,
I think them playing the first back-to-back in these early season back-to-backs reflects the urgency that the Warriors want to win these games. They don't want to chase games at the end of the season, and the veterans playing back-to-backs early in the season sets a standard for how, just kind of serious everything is. Not that we necessarily assume or expect otherwise, but to your point, we know that this is going to be a major kind of needle to thread throughout the course of the year. We knew that coming into the season. Everybody's been open about it, how important health is. So now that you have kind of, 2 weeks into the season, you have a baseline. These guys, there's a sample size from which to draw on, both statistically, both with how the Warriors have played, and now, I don't know what was said in the meeting, but I imagine the guys know how they feel. They can communicate all this. I think it's very much going to be touch and go. I don't know to what extent they're pre-scripting these things out, but yeah, to answer your question, there's going to be management of workloads for their veteran stars. That is crucial. That is imperative. But so is making the playoffs, and you want your top end talent out there when you're trying to make the playoffs. So it's a difficult situation. I mean, this is going to be the story of the season in a lot of ways. And again, it's been acknowledged. It was acknowledged by everybody in the preseason coming into camp. Health is imperative, but so is winning games. And marrying those two things is really hard. Is going to be hard. As we saw, the veterans were out there against teams they were supposed to beat, against teams that they were favored to win, and they still lost. Any given night in the NBA, you can lose. So to answer your question, that's I guess a very long roundabout way of saying
You're good.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how that's going to be mapped out, but there will be the veteran core is going to be managed throughout the course of the season, in addition to Al Horford, and it is I think a big deal for the younger players to get reps in roles, or to have their roles extended or maybe changed in ways situationally game to game. Look at how that worked out for the Milwaukee Bucks. Look at how that's worked out for the Indiana Pacers on Saturday night. But, particularly with the Bucks, given what their expectations are, they want to compete for a championship. Hey, not having Giannis for a game wasn't the worst thing in the world. Look at what Ryan Rollins did. The Warriors players, the younger players, have the very opportunity when these matchups arise to do what teams just did to them. So when those opportunities come, expect the young players to have bigger roles, and it is going to be important to manage the veterans, to get them rest, and the coaching staff, the organization as a whole knows and understands that for sure.
I hope you're right. It's encouraging to hear that about that meeting. Because look, I guarantee that if you ask Steph, if you give him the choice to play in these back-to-backs, he's going to say yes every time, man. Like it's one of those things where you almost got to step in like a parent just to keep the kid in check, and because better, right? I mean, Steph will never make excuses. That's who he is,
for sure.
He's got that Jordan mentality. Jordan interviewed the other day talking about management, time management, all that stuff. Rest for players, and Jordan's like, it's 3 hours of basketball. Why would you ever take that time off? It's fun. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously, summarizing it very simplistically. But Steph has that same mentality where he'll go out every day. And sometimes you got to step in and be like, dude, you're turning 38. There's only one guy at this age who's ever defied father time, and that's LeBron James. And he does not have LeBron James's physique. Who knows what else LeBron's doing? I don't mean to insinuate anything, but who knows? My point is, I just hope they manage these veterans' minutes more carefully, because they're going to have to pace themselves, man. And you brought up health, and one player that I think is pivotal to all this in terms of young guys who may or may not come off the bench, but certainly who can match athleticism, match speed that other younger teams bring to the table, is Moses Moody. He had off-season surgery on his thumb ligament on the shooting hand. I think it was on the UCL was the more specific a part of the hand/thumb that he had the surgery on. Everything seemed to be okay. He was cleared. And then this report comes out that he was experiencing, I think, pain in the hand, and he was suddenly on the injury report. And then last minute, before that Bucks game, he was just off the injury report. They didn't say probable. They just said active, like he was good to go. But when you look at the game log in Milwaukee, he only played 10 minutes, which was weird to me, because you look at the 3 games before that, his minutes were 21, 22, 22. And he missed the first 2 games of the season. I forgot why. Was he hurt?
Actually, he had a calf. He tweaked his calf in practice.
Right.
Yeah. For sure.
He had the strained calf that happened in the preseason. Anyway, so he comes back, plays 21 minutes, 22. Then we see this report about the thumb, and he ends up playing in Milwaukee, but he only plays 10 minutes, and then he only played 16 at Indiana. And I'm curious to know what's going on there. Like why have his minutes diminished? Is that an answer you don't know, or do you think it has something to do with the thumb still causing problems? What do you know, if you don't mind indulging all of us?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if there's necessarily a hard reason. Maybe just kind of how the game played out. I do think, to your point, I do think, Moses Moody was in position, had he not strained his calf. He was in position to start on the wing, right? Or start at 2 guard, and was in position to continue to develop as one of Golden State's point of attack defenders, right? They need him, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga. We'll see what how DeAnthony Melton gets back into rhythm once he comes back, because he is has been an effective point of attack defender throughout the course of his career. But in terms of guys that are on the roster, the upside at the point of attack is with Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga. So he was in a position, right? And it's just the kind of the way that his preseason worked out, where the timing of the injury was obviously very unfortunate for him. But yeah, I think that, there is upside that he brings to this roster because of his length, because of what he's been able to do in the past in certain matchups, guarding primary ball handlers and guarding wings, and what he can do for their offense too, as a spacer and as a shooter as well. So Given kind of the nature of the conversation, what we're talking about, him at Moses Moody at 23, I think is definitely part of the solution in some way, shape, or form at combating some of these issues. And, again, we'll see what the week looks like and if he is due for more minutes. But I do wonder, given some of the issues that the Warriors have had guarding the ball, guarding the point of attack, if he's in position for more minutes here moving forward. We'll see.
One player that, another player rather, whose minutes, from my perspective, are lower than they should be. And especially when you hear Steve Kerr talking about a game that's evolving, it's getting faster, it's, and that speed, that athleticism was a massive culprit in these two losses. Besides Moody, which again, the minutes I don't understand, and I hope those go up. Guy Santos, to me, when you look at the depth of this team and the fact that size, it's basketball. It matters. It's a variable that's wildly important. I love Guy Santos. I want this guy to play. I actually think my suggestion, my wild idea, and I know it's a little crazy, but then again, I don't think it's crazy compared to what we see with these rotations from the Warriors. I think the suggestion actually fits perfectly, and that's Guy Santos being your backup 5, just to get him more minutes. Just because of how much energy he brings to the table. He can space the floor. He's not a bad three-point shooter either. He can handle the ball, so he can bring it up if necessary. He can pass the ball fine. I don't really honestly see any weaknesses with his game. We just have never seen extended runs. Do you think there's any possibility that Steve Kerr will trust this kid enough where we see larger extended minutes for this guy, or is it going to be situational all year? Like, what's your take, at least your opinion on what you're seeing with Guy Santos? Because I love him.
Well, he gave great minutes against the Pacers. I mean,
yes.
He just did. His minutes were super impactful, and the way to play himself into more playing time is to do exactly what he did the other night, which is space the floor, cut, defend, rebound with energy. He gave the Warriors a great burst. I think generally and again, we saw him play his way into the rotation last year, so there is a pathway for it, right? Now, does that mean long extended minutes? Not necessarily sure. He's traditionally been better in short burst minutes, but generally speaking, right? And to kind of go back to, I guess the whole conversation kind of, under this umbrella or as a backdrop for this whole thing, the Warriors have traditionally taken 15 or 20 games to feel things out, right? Now, some years they've had hotter starts than others, but this is very much yes, there's experience with this group, but you're also incorporating Jonathan Kuminga and featuring him in a different way on both sides of the ball. Al Horford is a part of this team now. You have the growth and development of the younger players. So there's all these factors that are in play that the coaching staff is gauging in real time. So to answer your question as it pertains to Guy Santos and really anybody else, like I think anything is very much on the table these next 15 to 20 games. He was great in short burst minutes. And if he continues to make the most of his opportunity and win his minutes, he's going to keep playing and keep playing more, especially when matchups, certain matchups against younger, more energetic teams tend to go his way. So yeah, great minutes the other night, and has shown the last 2 seasons that he can stay ready and make an impact on a dime. And
I know you said a moment ago that he's shown that he's good in these short bursts. Or I'm sorry for paraphrasing what you said. I hope it was accurate, but we've also never seen extended minutes. So who knows if he actually gets a 30-minute night? Who knows if he's good or bad in that situation? We've never seen it. So I hope we actually at least see that experiment, because again, I'm noticing the same pattern Kerr did, which is this game. And I don't know what happened in just the summer. And I don't know if a huge part of it is younger players basically phasing a lot of older players out. You see all this list of insane high quality free agents who are just sitting out there right now, which begs the question, why are we not expanding when the talent is there for it? But a huge part of this also is some of these veterans are getting bumped out for these very young draft picks and undrafted players either. I also saw someone in the chat bring up LJ Cryer. Maybe someday down the road, Cryer could be someone that's part of the Warriors. I loved what we saw from him in the preseason, but my point is speed has just completely catapulted to being this far more important variable than it has been in previous years. And I don't think that's a trend. I think that's a reality that if teams want to succeed in the NBA, they're going to have to counter for that. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the Warriors are 19th in pace because of the fact that they're just getting blown out of the court. Like that Portland game was really eye-opening for me, seeing how much faster Portland was, seeing like the Warriors players and coaches just kind of stunned by it all. To me, if you're not matching that with speed and athleticism, this is going to be a regular occurrence. You're going to see a pattern, and I really hope the coaching staff, again, I love the fact that they adjusted it on opening night. A little crazy to me, Sam. I don't know if you agree with the sentiment or not, that it took until Chris DeMarco and Terry Stotts telling Steve Kerr to roll with the 5-man lineup that includes the 3 core veterans, Kuminga and Al Horford. It's like it took you until opening night to think about that. Like I feel like common sense dictates that's your closing 5. But I digress. My point is, I hope I'm glad I hear that from Kerr. I just hope we see it now in action with the players who play. And this leads to who's becoming a very polarizing figure. And I think we could wrap it up with this on the Warriors. In the same way that Kuminga was very polarizing a year ago, made the fan base divided, still is to a certain degree, because some people just can't admit they're wrong about the kid, but out there. But Brandin Podziemski, to me, is becoming polarizing largely because of the usage. And then you see the results not really matching that, at least from measurables, meaning stats. Like, I'm not going to blame him for losing the Pacers game, but I'm also going to look at that Pacers box score I did, and I saw him lead the team in minutes. That was a little eye-opening. Defensively, I see opposing players blow by him. I don't know if he has the foot speed to handle some of the quickest guards and wing players in the NBA. There's the fact that he's not consistent yet with the three-point shot. He was 1 of 4 from deep in that Pacers game. He's also not I hear this word connector always thrown out there associated with them. But if someone's a connector, you're seeing at least assists, corroborate that, and 3 assists. He's averaging 2.7 on the year, despite playing heavy minutes. He's 4th on the team in minutes, I believe. What's your take on Podziemski? Because it's obvious Steve Kerr loves this guy. But when we're talking about pace and speed and athleticism, I see a lot of games and matchups where he is just getting used and abused. What's your take on him, man? Is this just a funk? I know Steve Kerr said that he hadn't found his rhythm yet a couple games ago. I don't know if he's found his rhythm since. I only see one good game on the box score. What's your take on Brandin Podziemski, man?
Yeah, I mean, he went through some of these stretches last year at the beginning of the season, and at very much at times struggled to find his groove. Remember the Denver game last year at Denver. It was an NBA Cup game. He tried throwing an alley-oop on a fast break that got blown up. The pass wasn't there. And Kerr, doesn't do this often. He very rarely does this, but called out the play in the press conference pretty demonstratively. He was not pleased with it. And from that point forward, right, it wasn't necessarily maybe directly at that point, but Brandin Podziemski slowly started to find his rhythm, even before the oblique injury that kept him out of the lineup a month. And then he came back, and then he settled in with Jimmy Butler in that small ball lineup. In the last, 30 games of the season, he was 15, 5 and 4-ish, around 40% from 3, 46, 47% from the floor. He's an effective team defender. We see the charges he takes. He's a good rebounder from the guard spot. And it wasn't, everybody right now, the last couple of games, the point of attack issue has been, a prevailing thing throughout the course, throughout the whole team. The Warriors have to obviously get back to defending the ball better, but they have to defend cohesively all 5. That hasn't the team defense in addition to the individual defense. And we've heard it discussed, right? The issues that they had with screening, switching screens against the Milwaukee Bucks. And some of that showed up a little bit against the Indiana Pacers too. Just the team defense, the communication not being there. So it's early in the season. It's early in the season for everybody. This is, again, a team trying to figure itself out, a team that started winning 4 or 5, that lost a couple games that it shouldn't have lost. Let's see if this is a reset. I think, history shows that Brandin, this has happened before to Brandin Podziemski. He has worked his way through it. And when he is clicking and when his game is firing on all cylinders, he's a very effective secondary ball handler. He's more than capable of making great decisions and keeping the ball moving. And he's an effective team defender that does a lot of the little things, that makes a lot of the effort plays, and that plays with the some of the intangibles that ultimately this Warriors team, that every NBA team needs. So 7 games in, I'm not taking so much away from it. That's not to say it hasn't been an underwhelming start for him. I'm sure he'd be the first person to tell you that it has been. But I think he's more than capable of bouncing back from this. He's shown that in the past, and he's shown the effectiveness in the role that they need him to be. Secondary ball handler, active team defender, do a lot of the little things, take advantages of the advantages, maximize the advantages created for him. And when he has the opportunity to create an advantage, make the right read.
Yeah, here's the part, Sam, and I don't know if you'll agree with me or not. Every single thing you mentioned that's a positive of Brandin Podziemski, I feel like none of those things are what the team needs. They need scoring. They need elite, not just team defense. They need elite isolation defense. They need someone who can lock really talented players down. They need 3-point shooting. They need distributing. Like, those are the things that I think they need. And you could be like the biggest hustle guy, at practice. You could be, the highest IQ guy, but if you don't have the talent, there's just nothing you could do. And that's my worry about this guy. It's like we're in year 3 now, and when he's getting the most minutes, it's raising eyebrows from my perspective. It's like, is given the numbers, given the 2.7 assists, given the fact he's the second worst free throw shooter on the team, these are all facts, man. Like, career free throw shooting percentage of 69%. At a certain point, like, I'm looking at the roster, and I think you have to be genuine to ask the question, at least, like, why is he getting more minutes than everyone else? Is ball handling really that important? Never mind the fact that the ball handling I thought was ineffective in that Portland game. That was the Portland game again. That was so shocking to me. Portland just looked a step ahead in every category, man, against all these guys on the Warriors that gets heavy minutes, whether it's Steph, whether it's even Draymond. Jimmy's Jimmy, man. He's going to get his numbers no matter what. And I like the fact that Jimmy slows the game down. Like, he makes other people slow down for him, but he's an anomaly. It was concerning, dude. And then we saw it again in Milwaukee and Indiana. I just hope that favoritism is not something that wins out here, right? And I hope that talent and the best players play, like, which is not what we always see, but that's my opinion on it. Who knows? What about Buddy Hield? Has had an awful start. I think everyone can agree with that one. Is Kerr gonna like just stick with that forever? Because I'm looking at the numbers right now, and I think he's at 18 or 19% from deep defensively. I actually did film study, and Buddy is culpable for a lot of these defensive breakdowns. Is anything you're seeing there? Because I know everyone likes him, but like, that should not be our job in media to care about who's likable. It should be about performance. Like, and the performance is not always living up for a $10 million a year guy. Do you agree or no about Buddy Hield? Like, is it not as bad as I'm seeing?
I mean, I think he's more than capable of, shooting himself out of the funk, right? He's gone through shooting. He went on these shooting slides last year. Buddy Hield historically has been a streaky shooter, but he also, had a 30-piece in a game 7 on the road.
I know.
So I think very much these, again, just kind of bigger picture, 15, 20 games, see how the Warriors are matching up, see what lineups are working, see what rotational patterns are working, and then kind of go from there. I know that's how the coaching staff is looking at it. Not saying they don't want to win. Obviously, again, to go back to the very beginning of the conversation, their vets are playing big minutes. They're playing big minutes on the road, despite a kind of a hectic start to the season. The Warriors want to win these games, but they also want to position themselves the best for kind of big picture success over the course of an 82-game season. That's why I go back. It's a difficult needle to thread. Brandin Podziemski is young. He is youthful. He does have a skill set that this team has. They are not super deep with ball handling. And you're right. They do have other needs and roster needs, but they're not favored. That's why they're not favored to win the title. Like, that's why this is going to be an uphill climb. Not saying that they can't do it, but the way their roster is constructed, where the bulk of the salary cap is distributed to 3 players, you have to. I mean, Brandin Podziemski picked outside the lottery. That is a team building win. Him being able to, again, down the stretch, what the Warriors went 23-8 last year after they added Jimmy Butler. Like, he was an integral part of big lineups that, helped drive winning. His plus minus, he has historically won a majority of his minutes. So that's what the Warriors are banking on. That's what they're drawing on. They are drawing on Buddy Hield's history as one of the most prolific three-point shooters in NBA history. Now, 15 to 20 games, things start to clarify, things start to crystallize. I don't know what these things necessarily are that are going to clarify and crystallize. We have to see that happen. but you would expect the rotational patterns to change. You would expect things to be tweaked a little bit. But at this juncture, while the Warriors, again, are trying to win games, is very much in an evaluation process, trying to figure out what works. And in certain matchups, certain opponents are highlighting what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are. You named, we spent a large chunk of this talking about one of them, length, speed, athleticism. I don't necessarily, that's not stylistically, that's not going to go away. What the Warriors can do is figure out how to deal with it better, how to be better cohesive team defense, improve the point of attack defense. That's a thing that requires reps. Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, learning how to guard different archetypes of players. I would expect that to improve throughout the course of the season, knowing the upside that they have, the tools, Kuminga, Moody, the wingspan, the athleticism, the length. That's part of the process for this team. Those are some things that this team is going to have to iron out. And we haven't talked about Jonathan Kuminga yet. I just want to, take the opportunity while I'm on the show, Cyrus, to talk about how integral he has been, how positive he has been on both ends of this, both ends of the floor for everything that the Warriors are doing, right? Again, they're figuring things out. It hasn't been perfect by any means, but what you are seeing is a player who has continued to develop, whose skills have sharpened, whose shooting is better, who is playing within the flow of the read and react offense, but also creating his own advantages when he has the ball and making reads and making kickouts and keeping the offense going. We are seeing him get those reps, defending at the point of attack, attacking the glass, creating transition opportunities, going up, getting the ball off the rim, initiating fast break offense. This team, we are seeing the upside that he gives this team and how important it is. Big picture. I want to go back to something that Stephen Curry said after the Laker. There was a Laker game late in the season, and Kuminga had a huge night. He was
huge,
19-9. Curry said at the podium that night, this team's not, and I'm paraphrasing, this team's not reaching his potential.
I played that clip. I know what exactly you're talking about.
Unless he's a part of that. Now, it didn't come together. It didn't come into fruition in the playoffs, that last season, but now it very much is. And you are seeing the upside. Not only is Kuminga leaning into what the Warriors want him to do, but the Warriors are leaning into Kuminga, his skills, what he brings to the table, and he could not have been, could not have started the season any better, showcasing not only, again, his improvements as an individual player, but showcasing his fit on both ends of the floor. So
I'm so glad.
We've talked a lot about kind of what the Warriors are navigating right now, because it's rightfully so. It's a two-game losing streak, but they're 4-3. They do have a lot of positives to build on, and his play has been chief among them, as important as anything else. So,
and I'm glad you said that, because I know I've been very negative here. Look, part of it is we're on a 2-game losing streak, and I'm just seeing all these things, these variables as the reason why. You're absolutely right, though. Could you picture this team? Dude, do you remember this torturous offseason, 3+ months where nothing happened, literally? And side note, if this is your business, that was a slaughter for all of us involved. At least if you're not getting a paycheck. I don't know if your bosses at Chronicle were happy about that. That was miserable. But Sam, I'm sure you saw the noise. How many people just wanted him gone, wanted him traded for players like Cam Johnson, Malik Monk? Could you imagine how bad things would be right now if Kuminga was not on the team currently? You could argue he is the best story so far early in the year. I don't know if there's a better one. Is there a better one? You're the storyteller, not me. Kuminga's I think there's a reason that these negotiations dragged, because the Warriors understood. I mean, they weren't you're not just gonna, if you trade Jonathan Kuminga, again, this kind of, again, plays into the whole conversation we're having. Speed, athleticism, length, the things that trouble the Warriors. Big picture, they are still outgunned in a lot of ways in those areas, but he gives them a counter. And if you're going to move on from Kuminga, just 6'7", 6'8" wings with that kind of strength and athleticism and speed, those, they're not just out there. They're not just available. And now, with him showcasing, again, his improvements and the way he's been a dynamic two-way fit and the continued upside that he has, that's why this thing dragged out. And ultimately, look, negotiations are negotiations. This, they happen like this. We see it, maybe not necessarily in the NBA. This is an anomaly, but yeah.
This is in the NFL, right? The holdouts, all these are two parties trying to figure out what's best for both sides. Ultimately, they came to a compromise. Flexibility for both sides. That flexibility is still out there, right? We'll continue to see how this season goes, but like big picture, the way Jonathan Kuminga is playing, like it looks to me like he's going to be a big part of the future of this team. Again, flexibility intact, but this is early in the season. There was going to be there is more upside that is untapped, both for him individually and both for what he can activate for the Warriors collectively as they continue to try and work through their identity as a team. It's very early. It's 7 games, and this is all very much in process and happening in real time.
Absolutely right, and that gives me an opportunity to remind people later this week, Aaron Turner, his agent, who until all this stuff happened, I didn't know much about him. I don't think anyone really did outside of his own circle, but he's a hoops junkie. Like, he got into the agent business because of his relationship with Terry Rozier, and I don't think that's a part of his life that he's going to get into much, but that's what got him into it. He was Terry's buddy, and Terry's like, dude, just get your license and be my agent in this. And that's how it all started. And then he picked up Kuminga as a client. Aaron Turner is going to be a guest on the show again later this week. He knows his hoops, and it's fun talking basketball with him. And again, this is why, going back to the beginning of the show, I bring up the minutes that I'm looking at. Like, Kuminga, to me, he's averaging on the year. I'm looking at the minutes. He's at 31 minutes per game, third on the team. That's clearly by far the highest he's ever averaged. Why not bump that up to 36? Right? Like why not give him even 5 more minutes? Like give him the real heavy minutes that star players pick up. And that's also why I also think Moses Moody and Guy Santos, I wouldn't mind seeing them play a little more, just to give, I like these kids. I really think if they got the opportunity, and that's all we can really ask for to give a proper judgment and analysis. If we don't see these big sample sizes, all we can do is speculate, and that's what we're left with. And it's just I don't know. I hope Moody gets more of an opportunity. I hope Guy Santos gets more of an opportunity, because the way this game is going, I don't think Kuminga is enough on these nights when other teams show up and they're just so fast and blazing and heads are spinning. You got to keep your head on a swivel in today's NBA, because everything is so lightning quick, man. Are you seeing this as well? Am I the only one who's kind of just in shock over the speed of the game this year?
The pace is it's the fastest pace in the NBA on average, right, since 85, 86.
Oh,
so
I didn't see that.
You are 100% right. Yeah, Basketball Reference keeps track of the average, and I wrote about this on sfchronicle.com today, right? This is a lot of what we've been talking about, some of the talking points in my article, sfchronicle.com. But yeah, it's the fastest pace, most possessions on average per team since 80. I believe it's 85, 86 in 40 years. So yeah, this is all, the Warriors, again, figuring it out in real time, figuring out, you mentioned the youth getting the opportunity. That's going to happen, right? The vets are not playing 82 games. The youth, the depth will get opportunity. They will get, extended roles. Those things are all going to happen. It's just going to take time. So, I'm sure next time I come on the show, whenever that was, we'll have a better handle on things.
The door's always open. The door is always open for you, Sam. Again, you go back with one of my closest friends on the planet, Connor Letourneau, and so right off the bat, right, like the trust, familiarity, that I feel like that was just a whole layer we didn't even need to deal with. Dude, you are welcome anytime on this show. And going back to that summer negotiation real quick, I just want to mention this too. Mike Dunleavy Jr., who I think so far has done an excellent job as the GM.
For sure.
And he's got a lot to juggle. He's got a lot. And when I say a lot to juggle, that includes huge personalities, egos, like heavy hitters who each have an agenda and want things to go a certain way. And he's trying to balance all this shit. What I really love is he brings that player perspective. And I saw this interview he did, I think it was on Sirius XM or something recently, where he talked about how the Kuminga scenario could have gone a completely different path, where maybe he needed a fresh start. And it was possibly going that direction, where maybe just sometimes the player just has to go somewhere else and start anew. But he was focused on trying to not let it get to that point. And Dunleavy added that as a former player, he'd been in that situation himself. Knowing that perspective let him communicate with Jonathan Kuminga in a far more effective manner to have him buy in to the long-term vision, which is, and this is where I've heard Steve Kerr say as well, even that short-term look, like Kuminga's playing the role that Kerr clearly wants. long-term, this could be his team. This could be the Jonathan Kuminga show, and you build around him. Like 3 years from now, 5 years from now, whenever that is, maybe even sooner, like that could be the plan. Who knows? Sure. But Mike Dunleavy Jr., to have that perspective while bringing some wisdom to the table as well, it's been fantastic. His second-round picks. Will Richard is another guy. He got DNP'd in that Pacer game. I love what we're seeing from him so far. I want more minutes for him. So, yeah. And again, I know I'm being very negative. Forgive me for that on today's show. It is a 2-game losing streak. And just the speed, though. Like, again, and I didn't know that stat that you mentioned. I didn't say you wrote a new story today. Is it published yet, or are you still writing it?
Yeah. sfchronicle.com. Yep.
Oh, sorry for that. I missed that. So
no,
I will
sweat,
read that.
No sweat. Yep.
And a good chance, and that was a good opportunity to plug the SF Chronicle as well. Yeah, and the headline for the newest story: Warriors trying to adjust to opposition speed while finding their ideal pace. I'm going to read that right now. I've read every one of your stories, and this also gives me a chance, an opportunity to give you praise, because I do read all your stories, and you've almost turned into like this classic, literary author. The way your storytelling and your observations, recapping like these scenes that happen in real time as you're watching it, and then you're retelling it, bro. You're writing following that Nuggets game when Steph hit that game tying 3. You're capturing the ambiance of the crowd who was falling asleep there for a brief moment. And I forgot the one incident that woke them up, and you highlighted that, and it got the crowd going, and I think maybe it was Steph just trying to tell people to get back engaged. But bravo. I just wanted to give you some flowers, man, because your writing has been chef's kiss spectacular, dude. So bravo. And people can find you on SF, not SF, it's sfchronicle.com. That's where you can subscribe, and you can also get the paper still exists, which is awesome. I know it's getting phased out slowly, but people can still subscribe to the hard copy print newspaper delivered to your door, and go to the website. Anything we missed? I know someone in the chat brought up Trace Jackson Davis. I don't know if you have any opinions on him. I know he's getting the rotations are just very difficult for him to find space, but I don't know if there's anything else to say to that. Anything I missed? Any final thoughts from your end?
Yeah, no, I feel like you pretty much covered everything, right? I think it's an 82-game season. 15, 20 games is a sample size that the Warriors generally like to use before they, that's kind of the sample size before they draw major conclusions. There is urgency. There's definitely urgency. Don't want to sit here and say there's not. There's definitely urgency. And the Warriors have a great chance to build some momentum these next couple games going into the start of the NBA Cup against Denver in a really frenetic part of their schedule. So, I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. You are very busy, so I appreciate you for taking time out. And the least we can do, again, go to the SF Chronicle, more specifically sfchronicle.com. People can follow you on Twitter. You're publishing the links to all your stories and then some. What I really love about your Twitter presence, Sam, is and people should follow you just for this reason alone, among many things, but this chief reason. And your handle on Twitter is @BySamGordon. You post so many practice videos, and you post so many videos of the team's shoot-arounds, like all these little things, especially when they're on the road. How is the typical layman gonna watch this stuff, right? Like you are the gatekeeper for those visuals and that information. And kudos, and this is all on Twitter again, @BySamGordon. That is your handle on Twitter. So keep up the great work there, man. And if you don't mind, I joke about this a lot, and if you don't mind recapping to the audience before we go, because I know sometimes for these road games when Steve Kerr and the players, and I think the minimum is 2 players, correct if I'm wrong on that, in terms of how many have to come out and talk to you guys. But describe the layout of a road game, because I've done that once, and then I've heard people tell me stories how it can be completely empty in these rooms sometimes, and it's just you and Kerr. Maybe it's like you and Slater and maybe like the Mercury's beat writer, I forgot his name, forgive me. But there are moments like that, correct, where it's just like you're having a one-on-one interview pretty much with these coaches and athletes. Or am I painting a picture that's not accurate? Describe how that goes.
Yeah, I guess it just kind of depends on the market, right? LA, the season opener, the press conference room was packed. Not as packed for Indiana, right? Like not quite as packed. And there are some games where, there's times where, and I'm sure it's been the case for, other traveling beat writers as well. But there were a couple games last year where I was the only person there, me and one other person. So Yeah, it's on the road. Road takes on a kind of a little different tempo. The team always, is after the game has somewhere to be, has somewhere to get to, team buses and whatnot. So they try and make the process as efficient as possible. But overall, everybody with the Warriors, all the players, staff, great to work with and love. You mentioned all the beat writers, Anthony Slater, Joseph Dykes, San Jose Mercury News, Danny Emmerman, San Francisco Standard.
Oh, yeah, Danny, too. Yeah,
yep, Dalton Johnson, Monty Poole, my man Ron Kroichek from the SF Chronicle. It's a great crew. Kenzo from Clutch Points. Great crew. Everybody coming out to cover the Warriors. The traveling crew is a lot of fun to be around. Nick Friedel back at the Athletic.
Right.
Everybody does great work. I've loved getting to know everybody and whatnot. But, yeah, it's sometimes, to answer your question, sometimes it is just a player or Steve at the podium and like 4 or 5 of us and the team, media folks. So it's I'm living the dream. It's awesome.
No, you are absolutely right.
I love doing what I'm doing. It's a great time.
Of course,
and blessed to be a part of it.
You better not say anything else, dude. I mean, if you're not loving this job, you're just in the wrong field altogether.
No, it's awesome.
This is a dream, absolutely, brother. And thank you so much again for taking time out. The audience loved you, dude. You got a lot of insane feedback. On a positive note, and every one of you showing that love to Sam. Follow him on Twitter again, @BySamGordon, and subscribe to the SF Chronicle, man. sfchronicle.com is the website. Go there, subscribe. It's worth it. I'm subscribed and I'm reading all your stuff, brother. I think we're done. Have you had dinner yet, or are you about to go do that?
No, I'm about to go make that happen.
Introduce real quick before you go. Introduce the pup. You don't have to show her.
She's not here. She's not here anymore. But my lady and I, we got a dog. Her name is Mesa Verde. She is the best. I hadn't had a pet before. Not a dog. I had pets, cats, and my family. Haven't had a dog since I was very little. Didn't know what it was like as an adult. And she rocks. She is awesome. So shout out to all the pet owners, all the dog lovers, any pet in general. It's a super special relationship, and having her has helped me. Learn the Bay Area, get out and walk and be outside, and all great things. All great things have come from us having her. So she's the best.
Awesome, man. TFN in the chat's asking, when is Kuminga coming on? That's after that huge road trip. When the team comes back from that, we'll figure that when Kuminga's coming on. He was supposed to come on, Sam, during a media day, and then the holdout just screwed a lot of shit up, at least on my end. I don't know how you felt about that personally, but I was not a fan of that holdout. It was a bummer. But Jonathan Kuminga will be on the show in a few weeks, maybe a month. That road trip is grueling. This stretch of upcoming games is grueling. And good news, Sam. It's good news to you folks. Sam Gordon is covering it. Thank you, brother. I really do appreciate it. I hope we see you sooner than later. Are we done?
Yeah, I think so. The Warriors did beat the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Clippers, and those are good wins. And the Lakers. Look at how well those are all good wins.
And the Grizzlies. Damn right. Absolutely.
Yeah, those are all good. This is 82 games. It's the ups and downs, it's the highs and lows, and we'll see what those ups and downs are and the highs and lows are next time we talk. So appreciate it, Cyrus.
Beautiful,
and
brother.
Thanks to everybody taking part in the chat and who follows along on Twitter and who reads sfchronicle.com. Very much appreciate everybody who does that. Thank you all, and talk again soon.
Beautiful. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.